So my name is Alyssa. I went to UCLA for undergrad, and I'm currently getting my master's in medical health sciences at Touro, University, Nevada. And I just got my acceptance a couple months ago to Touro's PA program, so I'll be starting there this July.
Awesome. Have y'all been delayed or anything, or not yet?
They haven't announced that yet. For the master's program right now, we are online. You can tell they're pretty optimistic, so they're hoping to get us back on campus before graduation in May. But everything's up in the air right now.
Gotcha. Well, kind of tell us how you got started on your journey to PA school.
Okay, yeah. So I actually graduated high school a year early, and I started community college right away, right after I turned 17. So I was pretty young when I had to kind of decide what trajectory I wanted the rest of my life to go on. And I decided that I wanted to go into dentistry, which I think is funny because you don't normally hear about a lot of pre-dentals turning PA. But yeah, so over the course of my time in community college, I was taking a lot of the science classes that are required for medical school as well. So a lot of my friends were pre-med, and I ended up getting really into like neuroscience and cognitive science, and just mental health in general. So I decided to get away from dentistry and go more pre-med. And then over the course of like the next 4 or 5 years, even after I transferred to UCLA, I was collecting all my hours. I was working at Ronald Reagan. I was volunteering, shadowing, doing everything that you need to do. And during that time, I ended up shadowing a couple PAs, and then I got nominated by an International Honor Society to go help out with some earthquake disasters that they were having overseas. And I was lucky enough to get paired with a PA from the US, and I worked with her for about 8 weeks. She was teaching me everything and kind of just opened my eyes to the profession. I really don't think that I even knew much about PAs. Like, I had shadowed them, but I didn't really understand what their role was. So I really got to see how she interacted with her supervising physician and all of the patients. And pretty much after that summer overseas, I couldn't get the PA profession off my mind. It was really all I thought about. I really wanted to switch, but I felt a lot of social pressure after, I'm the youngest out of 5. I was like the doctor in the family. Alyssa's going to become a doctor and this and that. And I kind of let that pressure get the best of me. So for a couple years, I didn't really admit to myself that I wanted to become a PA. And then it was probably halfway through senior year, right around the time that we all have our quarter life crisis, when I decided, I'm going to do what's right for me, and I want to start to try to become a PA and kind of drop the whole medical school thing. So then at that point, I was in the situation of you have most of your prereqs done because a lot of it overlaps with medical school, but I didn't have anatomy, I didn't have physio, and I didn't have micro. And so there was like some things I needed to work on. I also didn't have the GRE. So I was pretty much just working towards getting those things done. I took anatomy, and then I was still lacking physio and micro. So that's kind of why I got into this program, I guess. So I'll just kind of dive into, there's 3 groups of people who I think this program is cut out for, and I fall into one of those categories, which is people who have outstanding prereqs. Essentially, this program, it checks all the boxes for all the prereqs for PA school. So if you are missing any prereqs, this is like a great option for you. You get a master's degree out of it instead of just taking it out of community college, which was my other option. And in addition to getting a master's degree out of it, they guarantee you an interview in their PA program or their DO program. So half of the class are pre-PAs and half of the class are pre-DOs. And so that's one group of people who have the outstanding prereqs. Another group are going to be, I would say, people who have maybe they're weak applicants, and that could mean a bunch of different things. That could be their GRE score, that could be like a poor undergrad GPA, whatever it is. Just if you're a weak applicant and you need to strengthen your application, that would be the second group. And then the third group are just re-applicants, people who have applied several times, they're not getting in, nothing's really changing, and that can kind of overlap with the people who have like poor undergrad GPA and whatever. But pretty much those are the 3 types of people that this program is for. So if you need to finish your prereqs, if you need to strengthen your undergrad GPA, or if you are just a reapplicant who keeps not getting in. So since I had those outstanding prereqs, that's kind of how I started looking into a master's program. Although I'm a kind of an outlier in this situation. Touro University, Nevada was always my number 1 choice, because my boyfriend and I always knew that we were going to end up living in Vegas because that's where he's from. So that's how I got so lucky to stumble upon it. So yeah, I was looking into Touro's PA prerequisites and everything that I needed to finish, and that's how I found this master's program. Their website essentially states that they are for people who need to get their prereqs done, for pre-DOs and pre-PAs that need to get their prereqs done, and that they guarantee you an interview as long as you reach certain requirements. So yeah, that's where I ended up. I ended up applying to the master's program. I got in, and then we had our interview for the PA program in January, and just a couple weeks later, they sent out our acceptances.
Well, congrats. That's awesome. Okay, so I have some questions, more like logistical stuff. How long is the program?
So the program is a total of 11 months.
Okay.
It's actually 10 and a half, but yeah, pretty much July to the very last day of May.
Gotcha. Okay, and then how many people are in it? Do they accept a certain number, or they...
Yeah, so they accept 60 people. It definitely changes every year, like how much of it is split towards DO and PA. This year, I think we had 26 pre-PAs and like 35 pre-DOs.
Okay, cool. What kind of, what's your schedule look like?
Yeah, okay, so it does change a little bit, but for the most part, you'll have class on some days from like 8 a.m. to 3, and then on some days 10 a.m. to even like 4 or 5 p.m. Classes never go past 5 p.m. And if you do have class till 5, it's only like once or twice a week. And Fridays, you're normally out by like noon or 1 o'clock.
Okay, what kind of classes are you taking at the same time?
Yeah, so this is the part where I think it just prepares you so much for PA school. Like, I honestly am so glad that I have this experience behind me now, because it's going to help me so much in PA school. So essentially, I'm not sure if this is how every PA school is, but at Touro, for didactic year, you have 4 sessions, and each one is about 4 months long. And your first session is filled with like basic sciences. And so essentially, those basic sciences that you take for your first session of PA school, those are the classes that we're taking in this master's program, but it's spread out over 2 semesters. So you're getting identical information as your first session of PA school, but just it's slower, not as fast paced. So fall semester, you have 4 core science classes, and then you have 4 kind of extra classes, things like ethics or current topics in biomedicine, where, yeah, there's presentations, there's assignments, there's things like that, but it takes a fractional amount of your time as compared to the core classes. And those core classes are going to be biochemistry, anatomy 1, physiology 1, and immunology. And then spring semester, same thing, 4 core classes plus 4 classes where it's just kind of some like side work. And your 4 core classes for spring semester are anatomy 2, physiology 2, genetics, and microbiology. So pretty much those are all the prereqs that you need for PA school, and also those are all the same classes that I'm going to take during my first session of PA school. So I've already seen all that information, and it's literally going to be identical PowerPoints next year in PA school, like from the same professors. So I have a huge upper hand.
Yeah, no, that'll be really great for you. This is an interesting timing of this conversation, because I spoke with last week an admissions director, and just kind of asked her specifically, like, reapplicants, what can they do, or what do you see on applications? And one of her biggest tips was that if a student has, let's say, like a C or a D or an F in a class, she was like, you can go retake that at a community college and take it by itself and do great, but that doesn't really show me that you can handle what PA school is going to throw at you. So she was like, I would rather see you take multiple grad level courses at the same time and show me that you do well there. So it seems like that's really what you're getting with this program. So that's really cool. Does anyone do the program and decide not to move forward with PA or DO?
No.
Okay, that's just a curiosity question for me.
Yeah, not in my class, but just kind of like bouncing off of that and what you were saying too with the admissions counselor. So my program, so what I mean by if you have a poor undergraduate GPA, so essentially what they do for the admissions here is they don't look at your undergrad. They are only going to look at how you perform in this program. Wow. So it's not like your GPA is going to be, mixed in with all that undergraduate GPA. This is like a second chance. This is a clean slate for you. If you have performed poorly in undergrad for whatever reason, you have 10 months to prove yourself. Or pretty much like 5 months, because you get your interview at the very beginning of spring semester. So you do well the first semester. And they don't care about your undergrad. You don't have to explain why you got an F or why you withdrew from this class. You don't have to explain any of that. So that's why I think it's a really good perk for people who need to kind of redeem themselves.
Wow, I wonder why more people don't know about this. I didn't know about this. Okay, so how do are there other requirements, and how do those work as far as like patient care or shadowing or GRE?
Yeah, so there are a couple classes that you have to take to get in. I think it's just like regular bio. I know that they do require 1 semester of OChem, and that, from what I've heard, a little bit of like insider information, I guess, is that's the main grade that they're looking for when you apply. They really want to see that you did well in OChem. And then I can't really remember, but maybe some other recommended classes like medical terminology and stuff like that. But it's just a small amount of classes that most people have already taken. They don't require that you've taken the GRE yet. Actually, a lot of my classmates took it over winter break, and even a lot of the pre-DOs just took their MCAT in January. So it is not required that you've taken your admissions test yet. And so for patient care hours, they do, if I'm not mistaken, they require at least 500 of them. And I mean, that makes sense too, because you're about to get accepted to a full-time master's program. You are not going to have any time to get more hours. So they do want to see that your hours are where they need to be.
Oh, so that's before you get in the master's program.
Yeah, before you get in the master's program, I think, I have to double check online, but I think it's 500.
Okay. So you had hours beforehand.
Yeah, I had hours beforehand because
from your international experience.
You get accepted and then you can't work. It's
right.
full-time.
It sounds like that's intense. Okay, so you already have kind of it sounds like you've checked most of the boxes except for just a few classes pretty much before you get to that point.
Yeah, so that's kind of why I say like I'm like an interesting kind of outlier in this situation. Like I really was only missing physio and micro, so what I could have done was I could have just taken those both at a community college in like 3 months and then just applied to Touro's PA school. But since I really, really wanted to make sure I got into Touro's PA school, since I knew my boyfriend and I were going to be living in Vegas, I preferred to just get a master's out of it and do a whole year-long program to kind of guarantee my entrance there. So I'm not necessarily like the person who would normally apply, but that was my situation.
No, that makes sense. And honestly, I mean, I think that even just shows maturity as an applicant because, like you said, you're going to be so much more well prepared for PA school now. And I think sometimes people are very eager just to like get in and do it and get there, but it's hard. And I think being in that mental space where you're like, okay, I know that I can do this. I'm already familiar with things a little bit, like that, like you said, gives you a huge leg up. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, 100%. Like not only has my knowledge developed, but I also feel like I've grown into just like such a more professional person. I know how to handle myself. I know how to interact with all my professors. I really couldn't imagine going into PA school being the person I was last year. I mean, obviously I would have done it. I would have figured it out, but I feel so much more qualified.
No, that is awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing all of this information. I think this is definitely something that, like you said, like when you email, you're like, people need to know. And like, I completely agree because, I mean, it's definitely tough to find options for people who need those last few classes, and sometimes even finding them to fit your schedule. But do you get any type of financial aid with this, or do you take out loans?
Yeah, so it's loans. It's the same way that it would be for PA school. It's all through FAFSA. For me, at least, I've taken out government loans. But, of course, private loans as well. There's some scholarships available, but not really for the master's students, mostly for the PA students and the DO students. So, like, next year I'll be applying for those. But, right now I just have government loans.
Yeah, and I think loans freak people out, but in the grand scheme of things, it's such a short period of time, and once you're a PA, like, it's no big deal. So,
it was just this, exactly. I was either going to be taking out loans next year when I got into PA school, or just I would be taking them out a year early. And the way that I thought about it was like, okay, I could not spend this money to get my master's degree, and I could just go to community college, but then I run the risk of not getting in when I apply and having to reapply, and that costs a lot of money, and I just wanted to get it done and do it right.
No, I think you made great choices. I'm very impressed. So this is awesome. But are you sharing your journey anywhere? Or if people have questions, where can they kind of find more information?
Yeah, so my Instagram is just my full name. It's Alyssa Caparelli, ALYSSACAPARELLI. I'm thinking about, I don't know if I should create an Instagram for my PA journey or just turn my personal one into more of like a medical one, but it's definitely something that is on my to-do list. Maybe now with all this extra time that we have, maybe that's something that I'll start to create. But I definitely kind of look up to what you do with your platform, and I'm excited to start to share my journey that way too.
No, I'm excited to watch. I'll go follow you. How have they switched y'all? I know, like, we're almost done, but how have they switched y'all to online? What's that been like?
So it's actually really cool. So they already have something called Media Site. I don't know if that's something that a lot of people know about, but it's essentially just a way that they record our lectures while we're in class. All of our professors wear like a little microphone on them, so it projects really loudly in the class, even though our class is small. It's only 60 students. And then immediately when our class is over, it gets put online. So that's something that we've always had. So this transition into online learning was really not that big of a deal for my school, just because, they already have all these lectures recorded from last year on Media Site, so we have access to that. A couple of my professors have been re-recording them. If there's been some changes in their PowerPoints, then they just re-record it and upload it to Media Site. And then we do have one class that has mandatory attendance, and we have to participate by like asking questions and stuff while the other students present, and so we do Zoom meetings for that, but it has not been difficult at all.
Nice. Well, hopefully that ends soon. That's what we're all hoping.
Yeah. Hope so.
We'll see. But yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. What did I want to add? I want to add just like some perks about my school. I think that all the professors have a really amazing open door policy where you always feel like you're able to go in and talk to them and get help. We all have this very interesting camaraderie. It's not like we are competing against each other at all, even though, we all are trying to get into our program of choice, either PA or DO. We all have created this friendship, and they stress to you that there's enough seats for everybody. So I think they could accept like 80 PA students per year. So since there was 26 of us, that means that they accepted like 54 students, and then they kept 26 seats open for us. So wow. It's not like you're competing against each other. And kind of going off of that, there are minimum requirements that you need to meet in order to get that guaranteed interview. For the DOs, they have actual like strict requirements, but for the PAs, essentially they say that you need to pass your classes, but they want to see around 80s, like 80% on your exams. Then you have to get a 300 on the GRE, so that's important. 300 on the GRE, just be passing your classes, then you're going to get this guaranteed interview. And essentially, as long as you don't mess up the interview, you're going to get in. It's not like they don't really treat you like you're an outside interviewer. They know that you're coming from their MHS program. They know that you want to go to Touro. They know you've already invested a year of your time in Vegas and this has become your new home. They understand all of those things. So you definitely have an upper hand even in your interview. I really did not stress about my interview at all. So the open door policy, they have amazing tutoring there too. So you get matched during orientation with a PA from the year before you that was also in the MHS program. So he's awesome. He gives me advice on like how to study. He'll tell me like high yield topics to focus on. So you really feel like you're just being nurtured along the way. I just couldn't be happier to be in a program like this, and I feel like so lucky that I just happened to stumble upon it, and I'm really excited to just get the word out there for other people.
No, it almost sounds like you have a year-long interview, like they get to know you and kind of,
they say that on your first day. They're like, think about this as a year-long interview, and it really is like that, but it also takes off all that pressure too, because you feel like you've already put in the work. When I showed up for my interview, my grades told the story. I didn't really need to do much work by just answering ethical questions ethically. And then they also, which was really cool, during our fall semester, they gave us a mock interview. So they had like some of our professors run through all the questions that not only they ask in their PA interviews, but that are common questions at other PA interviews, because they know that you are going to be interviewing other places. They just really, really prepare you. And I know for a lot of people going into medicine, like imposter syndrome is such a thing. I always thought that I was going to have it. And I feel like since I've performed so well in this master's program, like I feel like I deserve this. And I feel like if anybody's supposed to go into medicine, it's me. And so it really kind of takes away that imposter syndrome of like, do I deserve this? Am I good enough to do this? You feel like you are, because you've already taken PA school classes and you've proven to yourself that you can do it.
That's awesome. That's amazing. I was a straight from undergrad to PA school person, and I don't feel like I had... It took me a whole first couple semesters to really learn how to study for PA school, which also caused a lot of stress and anxiety that was probably unnecessary. And so, now if I went back, I think I would be a completely different person, like you said.
Yeah.
So,
100%. Like, I went to UCLA for undergrad, and I thought that was going to give me an upper hand in this master's program, but no. This is exponentially harder than UCLA was. This is some next level stuff. And also, what's cool is that during our fall semester, one of those extra classes I was talking about, it's called Advanced Study Skills. And they actually have somebody come in every week and teach you how to study. They teach you how to make a schedule and stick to it. They come in, they teach you drawing techniques to learn for anatomy. And so they really are just nurturing you along this way. They want to see you succeed. And then it just kind of reminded me, which I guess I should talk about, the way that our exam structure is. I don't know if this is how PA school is, but I know that it's not how our PA school is, but our master's program, essentially we have 5 units in the semester, and each unit has an exam. So there's unit 1 exam, unit 2 exam, and that exam covers all 4 of our core class subjects. So that one exam is going to have physio, anatomy, biochem, and immunology on it for fall semester. There's about 150 questions, and they're all intermixed, so you won't know which one's immunology. Obviously you can tell when you're reading the question, but it's just kind of random. And so it teaches you how to study for multiple subjects at one time, which is totally not something that I did during undergrad. I would cram for Tuesday's test, and then if I had a test on Wednesday, I would spend that day cramming for that one. You learn how to study over the course of 4 weeks, to the point where at the end of this month, you're going to know all this information on the unit exam. And a big way to do that, essentially, is to have multiple passes of the lectures, which I don't know about you, but in undergrad, I probably looked over each lecture one time.
Yeah. No.
It really just teaches you how to kind of balance that crazy hectic schedule that you're going to have in PA school, and how to study for multiple subjects at one time.
Yeah, that's interesting. Ours wasn't quite like that. I'm trying to think how my PA school did it. We did it in clin med sections. So kind of, you would learn the medicine part, and then we'd have pharmacology, but it would be focused on whatever we were learning in clin med. and our physical exam would be focused on whatever we're learning there. But I do think they split up the tests. But I mean, study skills are such a big part of PA school that you either have to have someone teach you or try to figure it out yourself at some point.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely nice that they kind of proposed all these different mechanisms that you could use for studying, and then you just have to figure out which one's best for you. So that's kind of what all of us did during the first month. We were just figuring out what worked best for us. But actually, the PA school at Touro does not have exams where all the subjects are like on the one exam. That's just the master's program. But since the PA school does have an exam almost every single day, like I have a friend in the program who she shows me her schedule, and there's probably 3 exams a week, if not more. And so it just teaches you how to study for all your subjects at once. So you're not just studying for Monday's exam and then you have another one on Wednesday, but now you only have 2 days to prepare. So even though the PA program doesn't have exams with all the subjects, it still prepares you to be able to handle that.
Yeah, well, I think you'll be able to handle it no problem. I think you'll do just fine. Where do you want to end up after school? Any ideas?
So, yeah, I actually, I'm a little bit torn between dermatology and mental health. I know I'm going to be in Las Vegas, so that's why, another reason why I wanted to go to Touro, because, what better way to kind of plant my roots than to do my clinicals in the community that I intend to serve in the future. So, yeah, I know I'm going to end up here, and I'm just torn between dermatology and mental health, but honestly, I have an open mind. I know I'm going to do my clinicals, and it could end up being neither of those two, and I could fall in love with something else. So, yeah, I have an open mind, but my heart lies in dermatology, and I have a strong connection to mental health. So,
well, I will tell you, there is definitely some mental health in dermatology. So,
yes, no, I absolutely know that. I tell people that all the time. Yeah. People think it's so funny when I say I'm torn between those two. They're like, they're so different. And I'm like, you have no idea how somebody's skin affects their mental health. Yeah. I was born with really, really bad eczema, so I totally know how it can affect you.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some crossover. There's crossover of everything, but that's awesome. Well, everyone, I'll put in the description where they can find you, and this was great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really glad to get the word out. I hope I can help somebody find their way into PA school through this little podcast.